The idea of a BRICS currency has been talked about in the bloc for a few years, but as the alliance grows and economic pressures rise, talk of a common BRICS currency has picked up speed again. At the recent BRICS summit in Kazan, the official website released several pictures of a symbolic currency note being given to the president of Russia in his role as the current BRICS chair. These pictures have led to more speculation about the future of a possible unified currency, whether it will take the form of a new BRICS-specific note or another method meant to reduce uncertainty. Dependence on the US dollar as a global reserve currency. Before we look at the suggested banknote and what it means, it's important to look at why BRICS countries are looking for alternatives to the dollar. This is happening for both economic and political reasons. Member countries want to protect themselves from changes in the value of the dollar, improve trade links within the bloc, and take more control over their financial policies in a multipolar global economy. The US dollar's status as the main reserve currency has deep roots in the economic restructuring that happened after World War II, especially the Bretton Woods Conference of 1944. This important meeting not only made the dollar a central currency, but it also set up two organizations: the World Bank and the International Monetary Fund, IMF, to help keep exchange rates stable and the economy growing again. John Maynard Keynes and Harry Dexter White, two important economists, created the system with ideas that were both similar and different. Visions Keynes pushed for a new world currency, and the bank agreed. Or while White suggested a system based on the dollar that would let gold be exchanged for dollars in the end, the latter became the basis of the Bretton Woods system, which tied all world currencies to the dollar, which was set at $35 an ounce of gold. The dollar got stronger in the 1950s as international trade grew and the US economy became more stable, attracting investments in reserve currencies by 1958. The Bretton Woods system was fully functional, allowing countries to settle international transactions in dollars. However, the system had problems. By the 1960s, US deficits and gold outflows put pressure on its gold reserves, and rising inflation put even more pressure on the dollar. In response, President Nixon ended the dollar's gold convertibility, turning it into a floating fiat currency. Despite these changes, the dollar remained the world's most important currency for trade and stability. However, recent geopolitical changes and economic strategies have led the BRICS nations to look into creating a currency that could improve trade efficiency and reduce reliance on the dollar. This is especially true when it comes to trade imbalances and economic sanctions that affect some member states more than others, like Russia and China. In recent years, BRICS economies have grown faster than the G7 in terms of GDP based on buying power parity. They now make up over 31% of global GDP, which has a big impact on the world economy. These countries also make up about 16% of world trade and are home to more than 40% of the world's people. This economic power has given BRICS the confidence to take steps towards de-dollarization. For example, new agreements between China and Brazil have made it possible for direct trade in local currencies, cutting out the dollar as a middleman and lowering transaction costs and currency exchange risks. A BRICS currency could have benefits like making it easier to do cross-block trades and making the economy more self-sufficient, which is in line with the overall trend of dollarization. BRICS countries have already taken steps to trade in their own currencies, and China and Russia have deals in place for trade between the two countries. India, China, Russia, and Brazil. Let's stop for a moment. Please do us a favor. If you like our content, click the like button to help even more. Then, leave your thoughts and feedback in the comments. Your participation helps us grow. Thank you. A BRICS currency could be a single currency or a digital currency unit tied to the economic contributions of each member nation, like the special drawing rights, SDR, of the International Monetary Fund, IMF. It could also be a weighted currency basket. The idea of tying this currency to gold or other assets is still being discussed, but some people believe that gold backing would be best for stability. Others say that a currency that doesn't have these kinds of ties could stay flexible. BRICS nations want to be more economically independent by staying away from the dollar. Based on global financial agencies that they think are too biased in favor of Western interests, if these economies depend on the dollar for international trade, they may be affected by changes in US policy and sanctions. For example, Russia was kicked out of SWIFT and other sanctions because of the conflict in Ukraine. By encouraging trade in their own currencies or making a BRICS currency, these countries hope to improve their economic independence. cross-border trade within BRICS would go more smoothly if it was done in local or a shared BRICS currency. This would cut down on the costs and risks of currency swings. Getting rid of the dollar could make things easier, especially since trade within the BRICS industry has been growing over the past few years thanks to trade deals between BRICS countries like China. China and Russia's use of local currencies has shown the benefits of deals that don't involve the dollar. The US can have an effect on financial markets and economic strategies around the world because the dollar is the most important currency. Getting rid of the US dollar's dominance around the world would help create a multipolar financial system where economic power is more evenly shared. This would also give emerging economies a bigger say in global financial decisions, which the BRICS countries say is long overdue in a multipolar world. Rising tensions between the US and some of its allies, mainly Russia and China, have pushed these countries to look for other options. This variety is seen as a safety net against possible future trade and economic sanctions by the US and its partners. The bigger BRICS alliance, which includes countries like Saudi Arabia and Iran that are becoming more interested, can further lower depending on financial groups like the World Bank and the International Monetary Fund that are run by the West as emerging economies. BRICS nations say that depending on the dollar makes them vulnerable to changes in US domestic economic policies, like when the US raises interest rates and BRICS nations see higher debt servicing costs and inflationary pressure, which makes them less likely to use the dollar. This means that reliance could make their own financial markets more stable. Let's talk about the BRIC again. Sputnik is a Russian state-owned news agency and radio broadcast service based in the Russian town of Kirak in the Vladimir area. Most of the information below comes from Sputnik. Before the 2023 BRICS summit in Johannesburg, South Africa, 1,000 memorial notes worth 100 BRICS were made at a recent summit in Kazan. Italia. One of these important gifts was given to President Vladimir Putin. Money Bills. Dmitry Pesov, a spokesman for the Kremlin, called it quasi-money, to stress that it represents the spirit of cooperation among the BRICS countries. The 5 founding BRICS countries, Brazil, Russia, India, and China, are shown on the front of the note with their national symbols and colors. South Africa and China. The flags and names of other nations that are linked to BRICS are shown on the back. Egypt. Others who might join forces with Ethiopia are Iran, the UAE, and each picture on the note was carefully drawn by hand. Yevhen Fyodorov, founder and owner of Kirak Typography JSC, came up with the idea for the banknote and gave it to BRICS as a gift to show his support for their goals, such as international cooperation and a multi-global framework. Fyodorov said that the flags arranged in a circle on the front of the note represent the idea of equality among the BRICS members. He also said that the note is both a concept model and a symbol of an emerging multipolar world, pointing out that meaningful changes often start with symbolic gestures. Fyodorov also promised that the BRICS note has sophisticated anti-counterfeiting features, similar to standard Russian banknotes. Fyodorov also praised the designer Yuri Yarkov, who is known for making money for more than 10 countries. Yarkov has made images for Iraq's money under Saddam Hussein and for Ho Chi Minh, Vietnam's former leader, on the Vietnamese dong. President Putin made it clear that while the idea of a shared BRICS currency has been talked about, there are no immediate plans for it to happen. This shows how important it is to be careful. That's all for this video. Thank you so much for watching. If our content spoke to you or inspired you, please show your support by liking it and subscribing to stay connected with our community.